days, counting all the ways I died. Everything I couldn't save, buried down, still half alive. It's got me crawling in my skin, but no one's coming out to hold me close. Pouring out the gasoline, yeah, I've been making friends with all these ghosts, and I got nothing left to lose. Fight to the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in that wonderful Technicolor rainbow in between. It's been too long, but we are here. It is the Aegis Executioners League. I am your host tonight, Bo3, and joining me again for another season. If you've been through the AGL, you know him, you love him. It's our gamer Quacks. How you doing tonight, Quacks?
Really good. I am so excited to be back. I think that a lot of these teams have a lot to show. I think that you and I, Brittany, have a lot to show as well, and lots of stories to tell, and lots of champions to shout at, and players to shout at for that matter. So I'm really looking forward to this split in AEL, and especially this first game, XG Flying and Glacial Wolves. XG Flying obviously having the mid-jungle duo of, I believe it was Super Gremlin and Retail Row are now their names, and they were the jungle mid duo of the team that won AGL. So really excited to see how they fare up against higher seed competition, as the Emerald League has been added here in this past split. It really has hit a dent in terms of rank. So I'm excited for this steeper competition, and I'm excited to see how the reigning champions of a league fare up against said competition.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how all these players are going to perform. Like you said, we saw them in the AGL. We saw how they worked, and we saw them take the whole thing home. So we're going to have to see how they perform in this steeper competition. Now, we are going to have a few caveats coming into tonight. As some of you may know, if you watch the other Aegis broadcast, there have been some spectator issues with the Riot client currently. So we are streaming one game behind. We're going to be using the Raffle file. It's a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff the PVS, our producer, is taking care of and is doing a wonderful job at. You don't need to worry about it. All you need to know, Game 1 has already been completed. We're going to take you through the draft of Game 1, and then we're going to get right into the gameplay.
Yeah, basically no pauses in between, and we know how much some people certainly hate pauses. The LCS production certainly knows. That's why they got rid of them. As we do get into the draft here, both teams just immediately targeting the junglers, with Viego and the Nocturne being banned, really putting respect on Caxi and Worm Jones, just because Worm Jones in particular has been known to play those carry style champions, has been known to carry his team to victory and get early prio and really just run away with the game early on. And Caxi, on the other hand, is more of a facilitative champion. So you have those champions like Jax also being banned away that can be flexes. And there is obviously the signature Poppy that Caxi loves to play. But as the bans fire away, keep going off, XG Flying going to take away the Morgana, and Glacial Wolves playing with a Brand ban and a Lilia ban. So we basically have like 4 or 5 junglers, Brittany, depending on your point of view. So lots of respect being paid in that position.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've been on broadcast. A lot of things have changed. We're in 14.2 right now, if I'm remembering my patch numbers right. A lot of things have changed in this new season, and one of those new things is the brokenness that is Karma right now. Flexibility between either mid lane or support, depending on what your flavor is. And with Malignance in the mid lane, she's got such great pushing power. The AP ratio buffs to her Q and E make her such a menace in the support lane. And Glacial Wolves firing back with the counter pick towards the bottom side, the Janna Misfortune, a very powerful 2 versus 2 combo. I'm curious to see what XG Flying wants in response.
Yeah, I mean, the Janna Misfortune lane really is going to be playing around those ultimates, around those level 6 and first item spikes. Misfortune really doesn't need to be played for. It really is just that bullet time coming in so handy, especially with the lethality build being so favored in the meta right now. And XG Flying going to try and respond with a little bit of aggression of their own, giving Worm Jones that Xin Zhao, another incredibly important pick in the current meta, followed up by a Lucian, a signature bot laner, a signature pick of 14.2.
Yeah, I'm surprised that pretty recently we haven't been seeing a lot of Lucian Karma bottom lane. It's been a lot of very much like aggressively focused on Lucian Melio and Lucian Nami explicitly. Those 2v2 lane combos being very powerful in that early and mid game. First strike on Lucian, Ignite, trying to play for lane domination. And with buff towards Karma, I wouldn't be shocked that if on this weekend on the LCS live patch, or maybe in one of the other regions as they get updated towards the patch, maybe we'll start seeing that lane combo become more and more prevalent. But for now, we are one of the most updated patches in the most up-to-date patches in the leagues overall. So we're going to be seeing a lot more unique stuff and a lot more new things. Speaking of new things, Hwei not going to be allowed to be seen this time around, going to be taken off the table, whereas Glacial Wolves really focusing down those top lane picks and getting them away from Tiggs, the Malphite and the Darius. A little surprising to see the Darius taken off the table, but they really want to focus down that top lane pool.
Yep, and actually flying do have the option to go for something like a Nami or a Melio to pair up with that Lucian, and just as I say it, the Nami has been locked in. This is a signature pick going with the Lucian, and I'm not surprised at all to see it, which leaves XG Flying most likely with a top lane pick going over to Tiggs, and it will be the Yone. So that is a Karma mid. Karma with Malignance will be tested out here in this game, and Glacial Wolves will have to see how they respond. Top lane still available for them. I have to imagine you want to lock something that can fight Yone, and it is going to be the Irelia, so a lot of pressure coming up here in this top lane, and I would expect both junglers to put heavy emphasis on making sure their top laner is as comfortable as possible in this matchup.
Yeah, Sejuani plus a melee is a combo that we know and love, especially one that has either an auto attack reset or just one that can apply auto attacks on other abilities, sort of like the Aurelia on her Q, stack up that passive, not the passive, but the E super quickly, get that stun off, makes for 2v2s between top and jungles or even mid and jungles, depending on where the Aurelia roams towards. Very, very dangerous. The thing I am worried about for Glacial Wolves is Sejuani Aurelia is the only melee pairing. You do have Seraphine Janna to back up that Aurelia, but Sejuani's going to struggle to get that E stuns active and try and make engages outside of that ultimate ability. And XG Flying has a pretty aggressive brawly composition currently going on.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Glacial Wolves are definitely playing more toward that 5v5, you know, encore plus bullet time. Whereas I think XG Flying are really just trying to play for the early game. This is definitely screaming the remnants of Dynasty Ruby that we saw in the AGL last split. This is exactly how they like to play, dominant in the early game and just run away with a lead. And with the addition of Grubs, with the addition that we are now in, though, that season 14, and the extra damage that you can apply to turrets with the Touch of the Void, I think that the style that XG Flying is going for is pretty favorable if they know how to execute it, if they know how to play that early game, if they can run around, pressure Caxi, and make sure that he's as uncomfortable as possible. Then Glacial Wolves, before they even get a chance to teamfight, they could just be locked out of the game and completely stat checked around second to third dragon.
Yeah, there's always a possibility, but I do think the team fight prowess for both of these teams is actually pretty high. And like you said, Dynasty Ruby, the team that came before, a very team fight brawly focused kind of team, and we're seeing, like you said, remnants of it here. I'm curious to see if the higher skill ceiling and the higher skill floor of this league is going to put them to the test a little bit more. Maybe get them on the back foot and saying, hey, maybe we can't just hands diff every lane. We can't hands diff every team fight and try and just be better than our opponents. We're going to have to try and out macro and out micro and make those better decisions in the short term and in the long term. And like we said, there's not going to be a lot of delays on this part of the broadcast, as the draft was really just brought up by PBS so we could talk our way through it. And we're going to be getting into game pretty shortly. As soon as PBS has it up, we're going to jump straight into the game.
Yep, and yeah, first game, first week of the Aegis Executioners League. And Brittany, I don't know about you, but I am incredibly excited. It feels like it's been way too long since I've been on an official live broadcast, and Season 14 has just added so much more important things to the game that I'm so excited to see in practice. And so here we are, jumping into Game 1 shortly here. As, Riot Client is continuing to do its thing.
We're having a couple of issues with our production behind the scenes. We are seeing the items currently through our Discord stream with our producer PBS, and I do just want to say something I want to point out. Our audience can't see it, but Quacks, you and I can see that. You see the item that that Retail Row has in that inventory, right? I'm not crazy looking at that. That's a real thing. That's a support item Karma in the mid lane.
Yeah, that's a support item Karma in the... Maybe Retail Row didn't read the patch notes. For those of you who don't know, 14.2 essentially made it kind of difficult to run to support items mostly in the same lane, but there is still potential to go something like that in the solo lane, but I don't really know why you would want to... Who knows? Maybe Retail Row is cooking up something that we don't quite know about yet, Brittany, or some secret sauce that we haven't been informed on. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's a mistake, and if it is a mistake, that would be pretty hilarious to see, you know, first week, first game of the AEL.
Yeah, this is something that I personally noticed as a support player that has been very annoying to me. If you do have those minion executions and you are just farming them off of the minions and not attacking your enemy laner at all, you will proc the minion support rule at some point before 5 minutes, and you'll have to wait for that 5 minute mark for them to fall off, which gets really annoying when you're playing a tank versus poke matchup. Like if you're Leona versus a Janna or a Soraka and you can't find the point to like get an engage off, you're just stuck for the first 5 minutes being behind in terms of gold, and it really does not feel good.
Yeah, for sure. And so we can see both junglers starting on their blue sides here, though. Caxi, interestingly enough, is actually starting on the Wolves. And I'm sitting here wondering if he is going to do the famous grub path. Essentially, for those of you who don't know, this is, I believe it's Wolves into Raptors into red. Krugs will loop back around, go to your blue, take the Gromp, get the Crab, and then you essentially go for a reset. And then those 3 minor camps that you took right out of the gate will allow you to get 3 camps and then go straight for the Grugs. Gives you a little bit more extra gold, and you're up a little bit of tempo compared to the other junglers. So Caxi, early on, really showing some mastery of Season 14 so far, breaking in this new path that I would honestly think a lot of junglers don't know about because of how recently it's been discovered.
Yeah, this is a path I actually was totally unaware of. You can tell that I really don't play jungle that often. I'm excited to see whether this can net any sort of advantage for Caxi. There was a ward on the red buff. I'm fairly certain as Caxi was having across it, it did spot him even though he wasn't taking the camp. So there should be information for the other side that the Sejuani was up there, moving towards that Krug camp, and the Yone should play a little bit more safely, especially with the wave pushing in. It shouldn't be any sort of a problem for Tiggs.
Yeah, and you can see Caxi up in the top lane here, maybe looking for something, but the wave is crashing into Tiggs' tower, so there isn't going to be any opportunity, but they're making their way down to Worm Jones.
Worm Jones,
2v1.
Trouble. Caxi looking for an engage, is going to get that Arctic Assault, knock up, stack up that passive, get the stun. Nice flash away. Worm Jones going to dodge out the Dancing Blades from Nano. Tiggs is here now. Mid laners attempting to rotate. It is the double enchanter in the mid lane, the Karma and the Seraphine, but now Tiggs forced to kind of zone away, but Caxi, you're taking a lot of damage. That girl does some work. Knock up from Tiggs is going to be first blood in the top side. Looking for Nano now, just going to get some extra damage on him and snap back with a Soul Unbound, and a great response for the blue team.
Yeah, really good spacing there from Tiggs in particular. It felt like he was laying down Qs before Nano and Caxi could really hit him. And the Arctic Assault and all the things that came after it in Sejuani's combo weren't quite able to reach him just because those cooldowns are on the higher end toward this early game. So a little bit of a misstep here from the Glacial Wolves, but luckily it is only 1 kill. And I have a feeling they will have the ability to come back from this. So not too bad, but really well played from XG Flying.
Yeah, I did like the attempt from Glacial Wolves there. I like what they were going for. They had that push in topside. Nano knew that Tiggs was going to be stuck under tower, just farming that minion wave, but Caxi just engaging a little bit too early. They really are not fully in rage to get that stun down, not able to get that full combo, which meant that Worm Jones was able to walk away. And again, a great collapse by the rest of the team. It seems like this XG Flying roster really does have some good synergy already on their first game into the season, and that's exactly what you want to see.
Yup, as we can see, curiously enough, Worm Jones actually not going for the back. The Grubs going to spawn in about 30 seconds here, closer to 20 seconds, but now it looks like the Zin has realized Sejuani didn't take her red, so he is just going to yoink that straight away. And already he's building up a pretty sizable lead here in the jungle against Caxi.
Yeah, May looking for a slight engage on the bottom side. Nice disengage from Wolf Game Dev. I do want to point out for the Glacial Wolf side, they do have the double wolves in the bottom lane, which feels like pretty good synergy, especially when you are playing for the Glacial Wolves. I feel like that must have been a part of like the application process. Like, are you willing to change your name, have Wolf in it? Do you think it would give her better team synergy? Something like that.
You can't convince me otherwise that that is like the requirement of half the organizations in this like Emerald Diamond-esque rank league, where a lot of them do change their names. But none of these teams have as it looks like we are just going to be trading objectives here. You can see Caxi on the Dragon, Worm Jones on the Herald, was spotted out by the Aurelia, but really not able to do anything. Doesn't have flash, doesn't have ult up, so it's just going to have to give those for free. And yeah, the game continuing to be a stalemate and sort of quiet after that initial play on the top side of the map.
Yeah, just the initial trade of objectives. It will be 3 grubs going over to XG Flying, and with the kind of brawly composition that we're seeing from them, it's sort of what we expected. I do also want to point out for Retail Row, we were talking about it earlier, no longer has that support item. I think probably sold it and picked up that Doran's ring on that first recall. Doesn't feel too great. Either was some autopilot because that's what the recommended item is for Karma, or just didn't read the patch notes well enough. Not the best start, but only being down about 7 CS, it's not the worst experience possible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially against a matchup like Seraphine, where both of these champions are just expected to sort of hit each other, not really go for the kill. It isn't the end of the world, especially because Karma really does come online toward that first item, Malignance. So as long as you aren't denying that away from the champion, I would say it doesn't matter if the deficit is this minuscule.
Yeah, it should be evened out over the course of the game. You expect Karma to have probably a little bit more poke than Seraphine does, but Seraphine will have a little bit more sustained. It's just going to be about who's got the shield timing, who's got more mana, things like that. But for now, yeah, like you said, the game is pretty slow going in this early game. Not exactly what we were expecting, but every time we head up to top lane, we're seeing Tiggs aggressively walk at Nano, try and make something happen. But now Caxie's here, Nano pings that 6. There's the Placidium. Tiggs gonna fate seal his way through the wall, not get slowed, and able to just walk away from the play fine. Trading ulti for ulti, but now the bottom side Tiggs was caught up in the bubble. Exhaust a little bit too late for Wolfgang. Dev and May will find their first of the game.
Yeah, actually Flying's bot lane, it felt like they were struggling a little bit to find leads here. This is a lane that you want to go aggressive. And finally, a little bit of a misstep there from Pixel Wolf. They are able to execute that opportunity given to them and finally cement a lead here in the bot lane, something that is very needed for this Lucian Nami lane to function. And now, speaking of asserting dominance, Worm Jones going to completely bully Caxie off of his own Raptor. That never feels good.
Yeah,
I can attest to this.
You call for some sort of defense on the invade, but your mid laner has no mana. Your top laner's in the base. There's just nothing you can do. Worm Jones is just fully allowed to walk through your jungle, take the Raptor camp in your face, and walk away. It does not feel great. We do already see that early Tiamat for the Xin Zhao. We're expecting to see the Titanic Hydra. It does seem to be the go-to for a lot of these AD bruiser farming junglers, the kind that you can just sort of rip through camps, and especially for Xin Zhao, the new auto attack reset that comes through with the item being back in its old state of having the cleave active. Really nice for that 3 talent strike.
Absolutely. As Retail Row finally going back to base, spending his gold, will pick up the lost chapter, so those RQs are going to start to hurt quite a bit, as it looks like the game just kind of going back to its neutral states. Seems like XG Flying with a slight lead here in terms of gold and overall damage.
Yeah, they're just about 1,000 gold ahead, a little bit more, and it seems like Caxie just keeps wanting to make this top lane fight happen. Tiggs maybe has overstepped. Nano waiting to land that second blade, but it's a nice flash away from Tiggs. They're gonna burn the Glacial Prison, though. Try and burst down this Yone. The autos are there. Where's that Q reset? Flash forward from Nano. The Fate Seal not in time. Nano remembers the Placidium just as a bit of flair on the end of that kill.
Yeah, they managed to pick up Tiggs, and he doesn't have TP, so now it's going to be up to Nano to try and crash this wave, but honestly, a little bit of just a trivial reward, it feels like, for Glacial Wolves. They have been struggling to get a gank like that off for the entirety of the game, and now all Tiggs really needs to do is just walk back, get the CS, and he is still in a commanding presence. Has the recurve bow, has the boots upgraded, so overall, a good kill going over to Glacial Wolves, but at the end of the day, not able to make anything of it, which is a little bit unfortunate.
Yep, we've got our second wave of grubs now spawned. Neither top laner has teleport, but Tiggs is here. Nano a little bit awkward on that recall timing because now Caxie is left alone in the pit versus Tiggs, and this is an opportunity for XG Flying to just pick up 6 grubbies as Caxie has the flash. Maybe can like get back over the wall and try and smite one of these grubs away. They have vision of it. They know it's going down, but they're calling off. It's just going to be the full 6 going over to XG Flying. It feels like just a bit of a misplay again. Maybe a miscommunication from the Glacial Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, Glacial Wolves were not able to match that, even in numbers. Pepega on the Nami with a beautiful roam. up toward those grubs in case there was a fight. So just off the bat, Glacial Wolves, smart not to take the fight, but 6 grubs never ever feels good to the team that's on the receiving end.
Oh yeah, I will say if you're a solo queue support and your jungler pings that they want to go for the grubs, you better find a recall timing and you better get your butt up there and make that grub fight happen, because your jungler will fight that no matter what. And hey, if you want some free gold off of the assists or try and make the fight better, you know what you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. As a little bit of sparring here in the mid lane, Retail Row coming out on top, just has overall a bigger health bar than the Seraphine. But despite the gold lead, it feels like Setyuki, if hopefully I pronounced that name right, is kind of struggling to get damage off on this Karma. Luckily, like I said, it doesn't really matter killing the enemy opponent, but has just been routinely getting bullied out, continues to get bullied out.
Yeah, that level 9 spike really is where the Karma starts to come online. That maxed out Q does so much damage, and now with some AP backing it up, it's going to hurt even more. Retail Row going to try and hold that wave away from tower, but seeing Caxi just creeping around the sides, I'm not going to opt for that one. Just let the wave hit the tower, let it full on reset. And speaking of towers resetting, we might have a potential dive up here on the top side. Nano, though, sniffs it out. Worm Jones is going to get a little engaged on him, but I don't think Nano is even paying attention, actually. Starting to channel the recall there. Worm Jones has flash if he wants to try and go a little bit more aggressive. Just going to use that second dash. There's the cresting guard, but doesn't have the damage. It's just going to be a trade of ultimates again. Nano forced to walk away, and it's more plate gold going over to Tiggs, more solo gold. And those grubs are doing their work.
Yep, despite the scoreline, despite being 1-1, Tiggs is getting so much gold from the plates and the grubs alone that honestly it negates any kind of advantage that Caxi and Nano were able to get up in this top lane. The bot lane going to fight though.
Looking for the bubble, nice sidestep from Pixel Wolf. The exhaust comes down with the cleanse away. Oh, the channel to cancel out the piercing light. May forced to dash away. Now Caxi's here. The teleport's coming in from Tiggs. Maybe just a little bit too late. Has that soul on bound. Looking for the fate seal going under tower. He's playing Yone, but full game death will be able to walk away. A sliver of HP now. Maybe potentially in trouble. Caxi looking to hunt down some fish for dinner. May looking to try and trade back with the shields from Setyuki are just a little bit too big. Pepega somehow managed to find his way out of there with the flash and the heal. Now Retail Rose rotated his way down. Flash for the mage for Q. Hits Caxi. Nice flash away from the Setyuki. But Pepega's going to find the last hit. Pixel Wolf tries to get the damage out. Retail Row survives with a sliver of HP. Pixel Wolf potentially getting Vaders under tower here. Nice double Q from Setyuki. The health bars are so low. Where's the damage? Pixel Wolf picks it up with the make it rain. Pepega maybe stepping forward. Setyuki wants to find another hit. And with the big notes, Tiggs is still here though. Pixel Wolf can't walk that far forward. The shield, the snapback doesn't do enough damage. Setyuki finds a double kill, and there's the chaos we were waiting for.
What a fight coming out here for the first week of the AEL. You can change the name, but the fights remain. They are messy and scrappy, and we love them for that. As it is Glacial Wolves coming out on top. And really good lands there from Setyuki, managing to land the Qs and just take out the members of XG Flying. We were saying how the Seraphine was struggling, but now there is a chance for Setyuki on this pick to come back with the newly found gold that they have.
Yeah, that was a lot of money earned over the course of that fight, finding themselves now at 2-0-1 with a pretty comfortable near 20 CS lead. Over 20 CS now as they pick up that wave in their pocket. Worm Jones gonna look to pressure Setyuki off of this wave as Retail Rose just gonna manage to clear it out. Wolf Game Dev is here. Worm Jones is continuing to walk forward, absolutely fearless, but maybe not exactly the time that he wants to be fearless, as Caxi is here. Nice crescent guard to get him out. Gonna dash onto Caxi, look for some damage, find the knockup, look to trade at least 1-for-1. Rita Rose there on the backline with the damage, but it's just not enough. The support from Janna and Seraphine, a little too strong. Caxi finds the kill.
The heals and shields from Setyuki and Wolf Game Dev were just too strong. Even though Worm Jones does have that Titanic Hydra picked up, that extra spike in damage coming through on the Xin Zhao, it just wasn't enough. As now it looks like Glacial Wolves are going to be starting the Herald, but they are being collapsed on by the members of XG Flying. They are completely surrounded. Nano does not have TP, and he's in the bot lane.
It's 4-on-4, no jungler yet for XG Flying. The Tiggs is here looking for that bait seal, finds two! Beautifully done! It's 2 quick kills picked up for for XG Flying, and they say, thanks for the leash, we'll take the Herald.
Yeah, XG Flying taking advantage of the split that Glacial Wolves were having in that team fight. They didn't have Caxi with the bot side, so with no tank, it was just dinner for the Yone. And yeah, he's feeling pretty full after that one. As now he manages to get a turret on top of it. This Yone coming up absolutely clutch here in this game.
Yeah, Nano's pushing on the bottom side, didn't have teleport, maybe just needed to communicate with the team a little bit better, say, hey, I don't have TP, maybe we don't try and force that fight, as May gonna pop the calling, get a little bit of damage onto Sayuki, but just a little bit of aggression from the Lucian. It is the nice thing about having this Karma in the mid lane. Even if you don't have the Nami around, you do still have an Enchanter to activate that Lucian passive to make sure he's feeling strong, because the AP ratio buffs for Karma weren't just on her Q, it was also on her E, a bigger shield, a more powerful enchanting ability when you're building that AP. So all the AP that this is stacking up not only will help support the Lucian and support the Xin Zhao, but also is going to help him do more damage.
Yeah, absolutely. As Sayuki, coming back from the base, has acquired the Rylai's Crystal Scepter, so this will help Glacial Wolves try to kite away any kind of engage that XG Flying try to put on them. And so far, that has been the name of the game of the fights. XG Flying just trying to look for an engage, and Glacial Wolves looking for an opening, looking for any kind of crack in the wall, and just stalling out as much as they can. So Rylai's definitely going to help with that.
Yep, the Herald's going to be popped in the mid lane. No new charge for us just yet. It is just going to bash into that tower and give themselves a little bit of wave push to start them on this dragon. Nano does have access to the teleport now, so does Retail Rose. So both of these topside players can get down to the fight. There is some completed items now on the board. Pixel Wolf sitting on 1.5 items, but so is May. It's just a standoff, but for now, it looks like Glacial Wolves are just going to peel off instead and say, hey, we're just going to start pushing down this mid wave and try and take this mid lane.
Yeah, but they're running back, actually. They don't want to give this. I was thinking that maybe we want to trade the mid turret, but they want to fight.
Taxi's inside the pit. It's a 50-50 on the smite. Who's going to be able to find it? The Crescent Guard to push him away for a little bit. Worm Jones finds the smite. The Encore finds almost one. Nano's on the back line trying to find damage, but it's just a little too low. Can't find the kill. Worm Jones falls in response. It's 4 versus 4. Looks like XG Flying trying to kite away. Takes, wants to find his way in, get some damage on the Wolf. Gain Dev. Force the flash from both of them. The Culling's down. Pixel Wolf taking plenty of damage. Takes, there's the Monsoon. But the bubble finds 2. Wolf keeps still will find May. There's the bullet time, getting some damage from the top of the fight, and so Ro goes on a killing spree now. Has to flash away from Sayuki. They're looking for some extra damage, but it's another bubble. From Papay. That Tanks is gonna find that one. Still on the front line, still looking for some damage. Finds a little bit more. The line's still healing the shielding, but it's not enough. Sayuki survives. And now they're forced to kite away. With the fight coming to a close, it's just barely in favor of XG Flying, if only just.
Yeah, XG Flying managing to come out barely, like you said, Brittany, managing to pick up the dragon as well. So Glacial Wolves denied that soul point at a pivotal moment when they needed it most, but it felt like Glacial Wolves were late to that fight. They lost Nano so early on. Their primary damage dealer, their upfront carry, was just completely bursted down, and without that Irelia to be up in the face of XG Flying, it just felt like there wasn't enough tankiness, there wasn't enough health on the side of Glacial Wolves to survive the fight, and so they just got chipped away. The sustain did buy them some time, but Worm Jones making a play on the top side here.
Man stun. Nano doesn't have anywhere to go though. Looking to try and trade something back, but it's just nothing doing. All those knockups are hell to play against, and Tiggs will find number 4. Now with that completed Infinity Edge in inventory, this Yone is terrifying.
Yup, Infinity Edge, Kraken Slayer. These are 2 items that really make the mark of a mid to late game Yone being like really scary. So something for Glacial Wolves to consider is just getting this Yone off the backline. But how do you get this player off the backline when he has such easy access, such good follow-up, even from just the Xin Zhao, not to mention all the heals and shields and speed-ups that Nami and Karma both give him? It's going to be very difficult for Glacial Wolves being so squishy to try and get this damage-dealing Yone away from that all-important backline that they need in order to win these fights.
Yeah, I know you were talking about some very serious and important topics there, but I was just so entranced with the new Baron spawn animation. I love the way it looks. I love the sound. They did him so right. Baron Nashor is truly now a real threat on the Rift. But yeah, they do have some sources of appeal. Glacial Wolves do. They have the Seraphine and the Janna. It's not as though it's impossible to get the Yone off the back line, but if he lands a good fate sealed, he interrupts either the Seraphine ulti or that Janna Monsoon, just pulls them out of it. It's going to be such a struggle to get him off that back line.
Yeah, for sure. But it just feels like Glacial Wolves are really just caught between a rock and a hard place. Speaking of caught in a rock and a hard place, that's what Sayuki is right now.
Force flash. There's the one becomes fighting for the slow. Sayuki's going to find that encore onto 2. Get a nice stun down onto Retail Road to deny any damage. Saracen is going to pop. Caxie's here to support his mid lane. Worm Jones absolutely feeling himself. Just going to continue to walk forward and not feel any sort of threat.
Yeah, it feels like Worm Jones on the Xin Zhao. You really come alive once you pick up that Sundred Sky, and he hasn't been able to pick that up yet on the Xin Zhao. So really, it's just a waiting game until Xin gets the gold in order to complete that. And then I feel like he'll be a real menace to the frontliners of Caxi and Nano. Will make it really scary for them to even walk up. So it's just like, yeah, it's basically just a waiting game, trying to get that before the next dragon spawns in about a minute here. As not sure if he's going to be able to do that. He has the components for it, but doesn't have the actual item quite yet.
Yeah, no camps to farm either, so unfortunately it looks like he will be off that item. But I will say this Titanic Hydra has been doing work for the Xin Zhao. You've seen every time he's gone in with that auto reset, the 3 Talon Strike, getting that instant knockup. It's such a disgusting thing, and it's really nice for Xin Zhao to have. Without the healing from Sundered Sky, he will be feeling a little bit squishier, but thankfully he's got 2 enchanters behind him who are comfortable just feeding him heals and shields to make sure that he stays alive as they're going to smite away that new and improved Scuttle Crab. It's after 20 minutes, which means that it reveals and clears out a lot of the vision, sort of like the Chemtech vision cones do. It's a really nice addition.
Yeah, speaking of setting up a vision, that is exactly what both teams are trying to do here, as we are about 25 seconds away from the Mountain Dragon. This is still soul point for Glacial Wolf, so XG Flying still don't want to give this up. This could be a turning point for them and a big game changer for the Glacial Wolves if they have that scaling win con on the board. But so far, they are just completely zoned off of this bot side river. It's super hard to walk in here without taking so much damage just from the Karma and all the poke that some of the members of XG Flying have in their kit.
Yeah, some great vision denial from XG Flying, making sure that this whole area is swept. They've got a pink ward in the pit. They know that there's no wards in here for Glacial Wolves. They can't actually get into the pit. They're going to opt instead to start sieging down this mid lane tower, and they do have Misfortune Aurelia. Their wave push is not bad. But it does mean that as they peel off towards the top side, surely they're not looking for like a Baron here, right? They're just going to trade for like top tier 1?
I mean, they can go for the Baron if they want to. It doesn't look like they're going to go for the Dragon, but yeah, I mean, you can see the rest of the members of XG Flying, they know that that is a possibility. They know the remaining members of Glacial Wolves are completely zoned up of this Dragon. There's no threat of it being stolen, so they're just going to commit one member. Really smart thinking there from XG Flying. Good macro. And yeah, they'll secure their second Mountain Dragon of the game shortly here.
Yeah, traded for that mid lane tower. They're not feeling too bad about that trade. They will probably lose this top lane tower as well, as Nano's just going to pick that one up. But at that point, with the HP that it was standing on, it really is just standing gold on the map waiting to be picked up. And as that tower falls, we are still settling into just under 1,000 gold lead for XG Flying. Their lead really has not advanced in the past 10 minutes, and this is a team that wants to snowball a little bit harder. It's what you want to see from your Lucian Nami. You want them playing aggressive. You want them in the face of your enemy, and if this Glacial Wolves comp is allowed to scale, if they're allowed to get to that Seraphine 3-4 item spike, Aurelia's allowed to get a little bit more online, Pixel Wolf can pick up a 3rd item, it could get very scary in these team fights.
Yeah, I mean, the scaling win con is certainly definitely there for Glacial Wolves, but you also have to consider just the raw damage and power of the XG Flying squad, denying them away from so many key choke points and objectives that they want to get to that point. So XG Flying are denying the key components for Glacial Wolves, but like you said, Brittany, 3 to 4 items on this Seraphine, 3 to 4 items on this Aurelia, and the Misfortune. It doesn't matter how long it takes. As long as they get there, they will always be a threat.
Yep, Tiggs is going to be spotted there thanks to that new Scuttlecrab vision, so they know the Yone is lurking around, potentially looking for some kind of threatening play. As we see the mid laners clearing waves on the bottom side, doing their jobs, pushing waves into each other. They're feeling absolutely fine down here. Both teleports up. And again, the state of the game has sort of gone back into that quiet phase we were talking about a little bit ago. Teams are just waiting for the next mistake to be made, waiting to try and capitalize on the next objective. The new Baron is pretty scary. Nobody wants to just start it up any sort of randomly. And speaking of potential pick, Retail Row walking a little bit far forward, but he's playing Karma. He's got a shield on himself. He'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure. Just trying to get a little bit of vision down there. They have the mid turret completely taken. They have the priority to try and go for wards like that. But it's good on Glacial Wolves to try and punish aggression like that. Maybe try and get a pick if XG Flying, one of the members, is caught without a flash. Or if they just misstep or mistime. There is certainly potential for the squad to get an all-important pick and sway the game in their favor off of just that one kill.
Yeah, I do want to point out an interesting build path here for the Sejuani. I do like the Frozen Heart Rush, and I especially like just sitting on that Balmy Cinder, not completing the item. The gold efficiency of it versus the Sunfire Cape isn't that much to talk about. The interesting component here I want to talk about is that Unending Despair. I'm fairly certain that's what the name of the item is. I'm still working on memorizing all of them, but it is the it's the heal it's the heal passive of the old Jack show on every 7 seconds, which, for how long these fights have been going, might actually be getting a lot of value this game.
Yeah, I mean, most of these fights have been going on for about 15 plus seconds, so I certainly think that the Unending Despair has value, but I feel like it is going to get progressively more
calling. The Hicks forced to use the heal. The flash forward from May is just gonna find that solo kill. Caught lacking in the...
With the death of Pixel Wolf, that misfortune being down for about 30 seconds here. XG Flying circling around the Baron like sharks. This is a clear sign to go for a pick. They have a control ward. They do have vision control in there, but it looks like Glacial Wolves, they do not want to give this up.
He's in the area, pink ward in the back of the pit. They know it's happening. Tiggs getting over the wall, doesn't have that for Q. And still ticking lower. That pink ward is going to be denied. Vision respawns. Fate Sealed is there. Cax gets it up. Steals it and flashes away the heist of the century. And Jinx Glacial Wolves will manage to stay in the game.
And Caxi, the player that has been around for so many years and so many tournaments, he comes up clutch with the experience of the smite and manages to put XG Flying in a little bit of a pickle. Now they're forced to push up against Baron empowered minions when the dragon is about a minute away from spawning. Such a clutch steal.
Yeah, a great little play there. XG Flying, we saw Tiggs go over the wall and put pressure on the bottom side of that fight. Look towards that Raptor pit for the players who were trying to get in, but none of those players have smite. Those are not the real threat when you are trying to 50-50 flip a Baron.
Yeah, absolutely. It really felt like XG Flying were not putting any respect.
Nano has scaled. That's a 2-item Aurelia, but he slows there from the Glacial Arm Garter. Good, but Nano's just better. The damage coming up huge for the Aurelia.
Yup, and now he is going to be able to push this top wave in, threaten damage onto this turret, and XG Flying are going to be forced to respawn or risk losing that side of the map. And it doesn't look like they're going to respond. They're just going to try and force something mid here, but with the Baron empowered minions, it is so hard for them to go for something.
Yeah, and now with that second wave spawning in the top side as well, Nano's just going to be able to force this one down. And with that push in the mid lane, the pressure in top side, they're going to transition that beautifully into a dragon take. And Quacks, I gotta be honest, when we were coming into this game, I was expecting it to be all XG Flying the whole way through, but Glacial Wolves have come up shockingly impressive and are now sitting on sole point with 1,000 gold lead in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, Worm Jones, Retail Row, they're being shown that this is a new tournament. The stakes are higher. The skill and the overall team play is much steeper. The competition is much fiercer. Their typical style of game, just hammerheading through that early game, trying to force enemies out with, like you said, Brady, hands diff, is not going to work. And Glacial Wolves have done such an excellent job at denying that snowball component that XG Flying have wanted to play for. And now they're being rewarded for it, getting the items in, getting the power spikes for their players and their champions. And they're going up in gold, and now Nano just wants to keep on fighting. He is no longer afraid of this Dione.
Yeah, he's got the armor penetration in inventory. That Terminus new item on hit damage alongside some armor, magic resist, and armor and magic penetration feels really good for Aurelia to have. Not an item that you're happy to see if you're playing Yone. However, as he's going to start to pick up with some more tank stats, try and just be able to duel in the side lane. But now, Caxi looking for something. He's just going to rotate down to the turret instead, and it's just the continuation of the Baron push.
Yup, I mean, their Baron buff is going to run out soon, so they're trying to make the most of it here. Yup, it looks like it just went down. Going to get a turn before that falls.
Axie looks for the Glacial Prison to take a force to use the wave. Nice disengage onto 2 with the encore. He's huge onto 3. The bullet time rips apart. XG flying. Shutdowns across the board. May trying to fight back, but Nano is just too damn tanky under the tower. Some great support from Seraphine and Jada. Worm Jones not even there to see the fight happen. It's 4 for nothing in favor of Glacial Wolves.
Yup, and now 5 members strong. Worm Jones is the only one that can try to stop this 5-man push, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, Brittany.
And the Titanic Hydra gotta clear the wave. He's gotta get in there and find some way to manage them anyways, but it might just be too little too late. These towers are like paper in the face of the damage of all these members. He's gonna get in there with that Crescent Guard, but the exhaust will keep Pixel Wolf alive. The redemption, the heals, the shield. Pixel Wolf does not take a pixel of damage, and game 1 will go to Glacial Wolves.
Glacial Wolves waiting and reacting to the plays. XG Flying just were not able to secure a sizable enough lead in the early game, and Glacial Wolves run away with it off of such a clutch Baron steal from Caxi, the experienced jungler, the grandpa, if you will, of the Flat Emerald League. I'm sorry, Caxi, for calling you that. Is you know, showing that he still has a lot of tricks, including those all-important smite fights. He doesn't lose those, I guess. That's what experience does to a man.
Yeah, I do think the early game was a bit shaky. I was a little bit worried about it. Coming into that, it looked like XG Flying might pick up that Dynasty Ruby legacy and just start to micro and hands diff their way through these games, but Glacial Wolves played safe. They scaled. They got to their 3-item power spikes, and when the team fights came down to it, Caxi showed up great. Say Yuki, especially the encores, were finding so much value over across the team fights. I don't think I saw one that didn't hit more than 3 people.
Yeah, I mean, the encores from Set Yuki, like you said, Brittany, coming up really clutch, especially when it mattered as well. It felt like he was really saving it for those more clutch moments, not using it unwisely, which is something that you see a lot of Seraphines do, just simply trying to use it on one target to get a pick. But every single time, hitting 2, 3, 4-man encores, and really just turning the fights in favor of Glacial Wolves toward that mid to late game, letting the Aurelia and letting the Misfortune Bullet Time deal so much damage. And in the face of damage, there was just nothing XG Flying could do. They got beaten almost at their own game later on.
Yeah, they had a team fight brawling composition. They looked for some value in the early game and they couldn't find it. And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed in the mid lane, especially Retail rolling the Karma. It felt like we didn't see a lot of damage and a lot of value come out of that Malignance. I would have liked to see at some point during the game move towards a more supportive build, pick up something like a Staff of Flowing Water or a Redemption or Mikhail's just to try and keep your damage dealers, the Lucian and the Xin Zhao and maybe even the Yone alive. Try and support them a little bit more. Transition to that more utility build since you're not really being relied on for all that much damage, but it's a tough decision to make in the middle of the game. You're looking at all those juicy damage items. It's hard to say now.
Yeah, so XG Flying, their typical style, the classic Dynasty Ruby style of early game brute force is not going to work against a team like a Glacial Wolves, as they have made it evidently clear in game 1. So we'll have to see how XG Flying can sort of adapt in game 2 or risk just getting 2-0. This is a team that a lot of people had as sort of upper middle of the pack, like a solid B+ team, A- team, if you will. So we'll have to see if they can adapt, if they can change up their style, or if Glacial Wolves, the waiting game, just waiting for the scaling, is going to pay off and give them a 2-0 victory.
Yeah, we are going to take a short break while the game 2 finishes up and we get the files and everything behind the scenes with our production underway. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back, everybody. We're here for game 2 of XG Flying versus Glacial Wolves after a banger of a game 1 with a fairly unexpected ending, I would say. Quest Glacial Wolves coming out on top, taking that Stanley Comp to fruition and managing to pilot it to a win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they waited until the right time. They waited until item spikes. A clutch steal from Caxi definitely helped. But after that, it just felt like they had the game in their clutches. They had Prio in every lane. They were threatening on side lanes with what's his name? Nano being so threatening. Sorry, I had to lean down and go look at the names. But yeah, after that, it just felt like the game was pretty easy pickings for them. There's not much that XG Flying could do. So I'm wondering here in this game if XG Flying are going to change up their style a bit, try to play a little bit more toward team fighting or maybe scaling instead of just trying to knock down the door immediately in those first 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, we are hopping into the draft for game 2. If you're just joining us, there is a bit of spectator issues going on currently. So game 2 has already happened. The game is completed, and we are just running through the draft for the sake of us, the caster, so we can talk about it as it happens. And then as soon as the draft is over, we'll be jumping straight into the game. And speaking of the draft, we've already got our bans coming through. Viego, Karma, and Jax for XG Flyers, whereas Glacial Wolves are going to be taking out the Nocturne, the Brand, and the Lilia. Again, some of those jungle-focused bans, but XG not wanting to give the Karma over, but also not wanting to grab it themselves. Gonna take that one away.
Yep, absolutely. And XG going to insta-lock that Graves. This is a Worm Jones favorite. This is something that he played a lot when he was on that Dynasty Ruby squad, and something that he has shown consistent proficiency on. This is definitely the champion that he enjoys the most. And speaking of champions that a player enjoys the most, Sejuani coming out from Caxi, a signature pick, not only that he played last game, but is something that he has played for years and is something he is incredibly well known on.
Yeah, they're going to grab the Misfortune as well. So far, Glacial Wolves running the same kind of draft back. They do like the power behind that Misfortune, whereas XG Flyers are changing up a lot of things here. They're going to grab the Ezreal, and I don't know if you've been reading patch notes recently, but that champion is pretty good right now in terms of buffs recently applied.
Item versatility, he can go basically whatever you want, and yeah, like you said, Brittany, the buffs have really been in his favor. So Ezreal, strong pickup here for XG Flying, followed up by the Nico pick. So more of that team fight ability coming around here for this XG Flying squad. Obviously, the Nico ultimate is one of the most famous ultimates in the game, not only for it being great for team fights, but it also being great for damage. And speaking, yeah, Brittany, you made the noise. Way locked in here for Glacial Wolves. Exciting to see this pickup here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, as a play-by-play, I don't have those ability names fully memorized yet. There's 10 of them that I've got to be fully, not even 10, I think more, that I have to be fully aware of. And man, right, come on, did you have to make them so like edgy and cool and unique? You couldn't have just made them simple and easy to memorize. But no, Wei is a genuinely very unique champion. I'm excited to see him here in the AEL. I want to see how these players will pilot him and what they're going to be able to do with him, as he is a very high skill floor, high skill ceiling kind of champion. So I'm interested to see what Glacial Wolves can do with it in the mid lane as the second round of bans comes through. XG, not too afraid of the Janna from last game. They're just going to focus down the Nautilus and the Fiora. And Glacial Wolves happy to just repeat bans one more time.
Yep, make sure that Darius and Malphite are completely locked away for XG and giving not just denying Tiggs some of those more lane bullies. I would say Darius definitely a lane bully. Malphite not so much, but is able to team fight very easily with that ultimate in tow. And Glacial Wolves instantly going to pick up that support, so giving top lane counter pick once again, like they did in game 1. So Rakan locked in here for Glacial Wolves. Now it's going to be up to XG to respond. The Rel picked up, and now it is going to be the top laner. I would expect another big lane champion. Yep, and with that, yep, Tiggs going back to his roots, trying to be the lane bully, trying to get early leads. And he's going to do that with the set this time around. And Glacial Wolves holding their final pick.
Gonna respond with Aatrox. Set versus Aatrox, a very bully on bully kind of fighting in the top lane. I expect every time we pan up there, it will be autos being traded, Qs being thrown back and forth. We're gonna see a lot of abilities thrown at each other. I don't know if we're gonna see a lot of kills or if we're gonna see a lot of actual ganks happening up there. Maybe Sejuani tries and make something happen up there, but maybe she tries and focuses down bottom lane a little bit with the Rakan, but I don't know. It's difficult to gank in Ezreal Rel, and mid lane you're not going to have too much help, as Hwei really does need like level 9, level 10 before he really starts to come online in terms of damage. Maybe we will actually see a lot of damage up, or a lot of action up towards the top side. Maybe Sejuani will just look to try and get Aatrox ahead.
And speaking of Sejuani, I'm a little bit worried about this pick as we do hop into the game. There are not a lot of auto attack focused champions on this Glacial Wolves squad that can really proc that that Winter's Bite, I believe is the ability name. I'm the color caster, I don't have to memorize the names. But yeah, there isn't a lot of ways for Glacial Wolves to really proc that ability. And so I'm a little bit worried about the early effectiveness of this pick. It's a comfort pick for Caxi, but it isn't really rounded well with the team comp he's been given.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that can happen as we see a bit of potential chicanery happening here. We got the 5-man stack from Glacial Wolves on this level 1 as Worm Jones and Retail Row are going to walk up to get a ward, but they're going to be in for a nasty surprise. Worm Jones is going to eat that knockup from Rakan, take the paint from away, and the auto will go over. Pixel Wolf will pick up first blood.
Yup, good on Glacial Wolves to hold the kill for the ADC. This is going to give an item advantage over to a lane that we aren't going to see a lot of fighting in, right? We already talked about the importance of Ezreal and Rel being able to escape a lot of the danger that Glacial Wolves will press with that Sejuani. And so just getting that extra little longsword this early on will be really nice for the Glacial Wolves to have as both junglers. I mean, thank you PBS to pointing that out. A lot of vision has been placed deep within Glacial Wolves' jungle to highlight where Caxi is starting, which is going to be the Raptors, as you can see by the ping.
Yeah, no wolf start this time around, so not looking for that same kind of grub pathing that we were talking about before. Maybe just a full topside clear in to try and ganking down this set, as once you burn that flash, he doesn't have a lot of other mobility spells. Not really easy for him to escape a gank. But that first blood in the bottom lane, we'll have to see how much value Pixel Wolf can get out of this extra longsword in the early game. It is the first strike again, so I'm expecting to see another bout of lethality misfortune. That Youmuu's Ghostblade Rush, a very powerful item on a lot of AD carries right now. Crit AD carries need a little bit of help. I think currently there's been a lot of trouble with them in terms of itemization, in terms of tanks being too good, and lethality just being that tad bit too strong.
And speaking of ADCs, I want to note that Pixel Wolf actually opted not to take the cleanse against the Rel. I feel like early on when you have things like the Guardian available from the Rakan and the heal as well, providing a lot of extra, little bit of survivability, it isn't as much of a big deal, especially because Ezreal is not known for being that champion that deals a lot of damage early game. But later on, when picks are possible, I feel like that lack of cleanse could come to potentially bite Pixel Wolf. So we'll have to wait and see, as Worm Jones making his way to the bot side, so maybe some action there.
Yeah, it's another topside invade from Caxi. Maybe this is just the padding that he normally takes as a transition into a mid lane gank, but a nice ward for Retail Row is going to spot that one out. A roam from Nano. He just waste a little bit of time before the Aatrox, allow Set to regen some of that HP, pick up some extra farm, as Worm Jones will finish off that red and is maybe looking to walk towards that bottom side jungle. But again, he's on vision. Some great warding for both teams here. Nice root onto Set Yuki. Gonna force that Hwei to take quite a bit of damage there.
Yeah, this is going to force the Hwei to basically go behind the tower and potentially not move toward a fight here. As we can see, both junglers are hovering toward that crab. Worm Jones is going to be spotted on a ward, though.
Yep, it is just going to be crab on crab action. Caxi should just be able to pick this one up. Retail not one high flash forward from Pepega, looking for some extra damage. There's the crash down. Pixel Wolf forced to flash away as well. Wolfgang Dev getting a nice knock up there with the grand entrance as May looking for some extra damage. Steve Knight is taking down the health pot. Will not be enough. Pepega finds the kill.
I love the aggression coming out there from Mei, E-ing forward. That is not something you would see a lot of ADCs do, and his aggression is rewarded as he manages to get an assist. The Ignite going to give the kill over to Pepega, but nonetheless, a kill is a kill, and XG making their presence known on the map.
Yeah, a kill is a kill, and it's going to force Pixel Wolf to be a little bit more passive as well, as we saw Worm Jones taking up that Grump, forcing Pixel Wolf away from the tower, so it is going to deny some extra CS and gold, but with Wolfgang Dev here and now with Worm Jones recalling, should be able to clean up this wave just fine, not feel too much threat, and I think the CS lead should just about even out, maybe a little bit in favor of Pixel Wolf, but not enough to have a huge, meaningful amount.
Yep, and now with these beautiful clean resets coming out from the bot lane of XG, that is going to give Pepega potentially an avenue to roam up toward these grubs, assist Worm Jones in trying to take them, deny them away from Caxi. But curiously enough, despite that, he's actually going to just join Mei up into the bot lane. So no grub action going to be seen here from XG flying, as they are just going to go over to Glacial Wolves. Caxi taking away the grubs.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that we're not seeing any sort of contest on this. Caxi has not recalled yet, and they had full information that Worm Jones is just not pathing over. They saw him on the grump, they saw him walking down towards his wolves. They know that they're just going to get all three of these grubs for free. It's really surprising to see.
Yeah, for sure, as yeah, the Graves just going to continue to clear on down. Curiously enough, actually picking up the Dirk. Now, I know that this works in solo queue, but I am not a huge advocate for lethality Graves in competitive. I feel like Bruiser Graves is a better option. He is most likely going to go for that Youmuu's or the Hubris, depending on what he feels like, but I feel like either item could potentially have ramifications later on in the game with just the amount of CC that Glacial Wolves have drafted for themselves.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw something like an Umbral Glaive just for the extra early ward clearing, but it's got a lot less value now. They increased the price on it, and while the stats went up as well, it's not enough really to warrant, I think, the extra 300 gold that they tacked on top of the prices. It makes the item a lot less effective early, and you'd rather be moving towards something, like you said, those bruiser items or something like the Youmuu's.
Yeah, just something in general with more survivability. You already have that fleet footwork, so you will be getting passive health with that keystone.
Pepega, maybe looking for an engage. Worm Jones gonna find the smoke screen. That's just to knock up onto Pixel Wolf. No extra follow-up. The teleport's coming through now. Nano's here for the play. Has that World Ender. Pepega burning down off that Ignite, but another nice two-man stun off the Shattering Strike. Flashes away to survive. Now Nano's gonna pop that World Ender, look for some extra damage. The Retail Rose here. Finds the onto Pixel Wolf. Wolfgang Dev not able to get anything down. There's that spiraling despair from Hwei, but the damage is just not there in the early game. Mei finds Wolf Dev. Again, the aggression on this Ezreal. Baby odds to be punished. Caxi looking to come in. There's the heal. They can't find the stun, but they get the root, which means Caxi has to flash away. And it's just winning on the bottom side for XG flying.
Not only does XG flying win the fight, but that is double TP expended from Glacial Wolves. They lose a lot of pressure. Oh, hang on.
I don't think you're allowed to walk up that far. Pepega's just going to auto-attack you down. I think he expected the Rel to recall with no mana and no health, but Pepega has no fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Good aggression coming out there from XG. Great roam there from Retail Row as well. But like I was saying, double TP expended from Glacial Wolves now. They lose a lot of pressure around the map until those are coming back up. And they also lose a lot of experience compared to their solo lane counterparts. Nano in particular, Tiggs managed to get so many minions and even a plate while he was away. And that gold is certainly going to swing up in XG's favor in the top lane.
Yeah, I think the only saving grace here for Glacial Wolves is that 2 of the kills have gone on to the Rel, which is not exactly the highest value priority target that you want that goal to be going towards, as Retail Rose just gonna bully Caxi off of these Raptors. I feel like we saw that game 1 as well, and they're gonna look to take the rep up as well. Set Yuki is around, maybe just gonna look for a little bit of poke. Nice electrocute proc. Retail Rose now maybe in trouble, actually. There's the Glacial Prison, the root as well. Goodbye, Nico. Nano finds their first kill.
And just like that, Nico gets his Nico kneecaps completely removed. Just isn't going to be able to do anything. No flash, no ultimate, no way to fight back. Caxi is unsure of where to walk. He's scared of Worm Jones, who has already left his jungle.
Yeah, they know that the Graves could be around, but I think now as soon as they check this fresh, they should be fully aware that the Graves has either recalled or has just walked away from the play, so Caxi should feel safe to take his red buff, finally.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the vision. Oh, hold that thought. Dive to the bot lane.
Bullet time. May starting to tank up the tower. Pixel Wolf getting very, very low. May's just going to get that last auto chucked at him. Pixel Wolf finds their second. Pepega just a little bit too far away to defend on that play.
Yeah, a little bit of a sloppy dive coming out from Glacial Wolves, but a kill is a kill, and they deny May a decent amount of gold as the wave will be pushing back toward Glacial Wolves' bot favor, so they will be able to pick that one up. Overall, trying to just find any kind of advantage they can, equalizing the gold up. And yeah, that dive is going to help in equalizing the gold lead, so good on Glacial Wolves.
Now it's a Youmuu's completed for Pixel Wolf, really trying to contest with that early game Ezreal damage. Ezreal not sitting on a completed item yet, just that Sheen Caulfield's Warhammer. The tier sure is there, but it's not going to provide a ton of combat stats. But now with the extra pressure on the top side that Worm Jones has, with Tiggs being so far ahead of Nano, just a 30 CS lead dry in that top lane, it means that he will be able to pick up these grubs, deny the 6 fully away from Bulls. But as I say that, he took to pick up one, has that smite available. Caxi does not. I think they're going to be forced to walk away, so they won't get the full fire. They will not be able to spawn those Void Mites. It will just be 4. It's some nice true damage, but 5 and 6 is really where you want to be.
I actually think that both teams equally got 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Up on the top, you can see 4 and 2.
Oh yeah, you can see 4 and 2. My bad. Yep, I completely missed that.
It's a new overlay element. We're not fully used to all the new elements of the season just yet. But thankfully, it's added in rather quickly. We don't have to try and track it by hand.
Yeah, for sure. So good overall on XG to deny the grubs, the mites being spawned for Glacial Wolves. But now they're going to be looking for something on the top side.
Goes a little wide there. Caxi tries to find the damage, but Tiggs just happy to sidestep that one, not even needing to burn his flash. Comfortable with these top lane ganks.
Yup, and now with Caxi revealing himself on that top side of the map, it is going to give XG Flying clearance to go for this dragon, pick up their second dragon of the game, potentially threaten a soul point here, giving them an avenue into the scaling game that we were talking about. They needed to focus on so much in that first game, and now it seems like they finally are.
Nice stash there from Nano. Get away from that true damage from Tiggs. But yeah, we'll just be the dragon going over. Infernal Dragon especially. A nice one to pick up as Nano. Just happy to continue the trade up here. Tiggs, despite the CS lead, hasn't backed in a bit of time. So the item and gold lead is actually in Nano's favor.
Yeah, but he is a little bit scared to go for the back here. He doesn't have the TP. He will miss a lot of minions. But now, looks like he's going to be punished for not backing his Caxi looming in the tri-bush, looking for a tower dive.
Yeah, minions start tanking the tower. Taxi is just gonna walk through. Are they gonna go for it? Are they gonna look for it? No, they're gonna call off it instead. They think that's just a little too threatening under his own tower. They will choose to walk.
Not only that, but they didn't really have a sizable minion wave to work with there.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it is going to be just a high buy mark trade for Glacial Wolves.
Yeah, Caxi just taxiing his way through, manages to walk out of the play just fine. As a little bit of trading in the bottom side for Pega, just not managing to find a full engage. Ooh, Q auto from Pixel Wolf does quite a bit of damage. That's the advantage of the lethality misfortune over the crit. You do quite a bit with that Q auto combo. And now with Worm Jones on the bottom side, they're gonna grab a plate from May. The gold lead, similar to last game, it's not exploding in favor for either of these teams yet. It's just about 7,600 in favor. Say Yuki forced to flash away, gonna pop that Spiraling Despair. Nice pull in, but it's a two-man knockup from the Nico, but the disengage and the re-engage from Wolf Game Dev is good. Tiggs now trying to rotate in, gets that pull back. Pixel Wolf forced to flash away, but that is not the direction you want to flash in. Tiggs with the showstopper will pick that one up. Nano has teleported in. It's a nice stuff from Pega. Looking for the clash down, looking for the Magistorm, finds it on the board. Where's the follow-up damage? May is free, hitting on the backline. Tiggs gets a beautiful haymaker. Say Yugi will manage to survive, but the sliver of HP will get Wolf Death out just barely. Nano finds shutdown gold onto Pega, picks up a kill for himself, but those auto chains will not land, so he will be forced to walk away. And so many members of Glacial Wolves surviving with a sliver of HP. It feels like it's in favor as Tasty wants to continue the fight. It's a huge haymaker. Wolf Game Dev says bye-bye, and so does Nano. May finds that kill. Pixel Wolf trying to chase down with that Youmuu's movement speed, looking to find some last autos. Gonna oh my god! Playing himself. It's a double for Pixel, but May finds a double as well.
May, with the fancy feet and great kiting, manages to turn that into a double kill for himself. Lots of kills going onto the board for both teams. But at the end of the day, it is XG Flying Wolf. They are still within a gold lead, and they are going to transition that chaos on the map into a Herald out here for Worm Jones to take.
I know the drafts are totally different, but I'm feeling such deja vu from game one. We got a fight on the bottom side of the map that lasts for way longer than it really should. We've got Grubs going in favor of one team. We've got XG picking up the Herald. I don't know, this is just feeling really similar. Did I get the wrong script?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the game is certainly formatted similarly, but I can't help but feel that XG playing correctly. They're playing, yeah, that was a big chunk onto the Misfortune Q. May taking a bite out of his health bar for sure. As yeah, it feels like XG are playing more team oriented here.
Pop in the World Ender, nice sidestep on those Shattering Strikes. Caxi doesn't manage to land the Glacial Person this time around. Takes fully stacked up that Haymaker, doesn't find the tree damage onto Nano. Maybe has actually overextended here a little bit. Can use that Showstopper to pilot Caxi away to try to survive. The Magnet Storm used for a bit of disengage here just to pull them away from his top laner. Now Worm Jones and Pepega, or not Pepega, sorry, that is Retail Row with the knock-up. Pop Blossom, slam him down. Pepega trying to flash over to Yuki, but that spiraling despair slows him down, but it's not slow enough. Worm Jones finds their first kill of the game, and it's a great clap back by XG Flying.
Yeah, I mean, Pepega really good disengage there to try and save Tiggs, despite the fact that it was looking rough in terms of Set's health bar. He bought enough time for his team to go for the re-engage, and they just wiped the remaining members of Glacial Wolves off the floor. And speaking of wiping Glacial Wolves members,
a good transition there, as Pixel Wolf and Wolf Game Dev are going to be able to walk away. The movement speed from the Misfortune Strut and the Youmu's just able to get them out cleanly. The Celestial, I think it's the Celestial Slay. I'm trying to remember all the names of the support items. Solstice Slay, not Celestial. Slay. Plus the movement speed from those Moby Boots is going to get him out just in time. I do really like all the changes that they've given to support items. It feels like you're making a lot more conscious decisions about what item you want to upgrade to later in the game, and maybe even possibly with some extra golden late game, change it around, look for different value. I love what they've done.
Yeah, for sure. As Dragon going to be spawning here. This is soul point potentially for XG Flying Wolf, so they really want to try and get this. But third Dragon was definitely the turning point of game one.
They're looking for an engage onto Pepega, but he's got the Aftershock on, so he will be able to just step away from that play just fine. No huge summoner spells or spells blown that can't be blown again, as that's not May, that's a Retail Row. I have to check over on the side of my screen to make sure that I know exactly who is who. But it is just a standoff right now for this Dragon. No one wants to start the engage on it. They do still have that Herald Eye looking to try and push it into mid lane. Worm Jones, as it's highlighted, is going to pop it down, look for a bit of extra pressure and try and just get that one to push down this mid lane wave.
Yeah, for sure, but it is going to be up to Glacial Wolves to try and take this down. So this does give XG a decent timer to go for this Dragon. You can see they're still focusing this up. It's not going to charge. They got it.
No charge, but actually the Dragon was not being taken. Nano doing a good enough job distracting the members of XP Flying, so the Herald getting no value here in this play. It's just going to be a 50-50 fight over this Dragon. Caxi walking forward, looking for his way into this pit. Worm Jones, they're still DPSing it down. Nano looking for the engagement. Shows up in the Haymaker. All the damage coming through. Nano's gone, and so is Wolf Game Down, and now the rest of the members of Glacial Wolves are going to be forced to walk away from Pega, trying to get the engage down. May dashing forward. There's the bullet time. Looking for some extra damage. Doesn't get the kill onto Tiggs. Pega continuing to walk forward. Absolutely not a care in the world on this rail. Set Yuki is going to start to deal a little bit of damage. There's the Arctic Assault. May dashing forward into a 1 versus 3. Does get punished eventually, but makes it a 1-for-1, and Worm Jones finds the Dragon.
Yeah, overall a good win there from XG. It now looks like they're going to try and pressure the tower, but they don't have a wave to work with. The wave clearing coming out from the Hui is just too much. But yeah, the upfront damage of XG with Tiggs and Retail Row was just too much. Immediately blowing up 2 members of the Glacial Wolves, just not able to react with such a numbers deficit as Worm Jones forced to run away, spotted out by Setyuki and Wolf Game Dev. We'll just run away. Not really under threat for anything.
Yeah, it turns out that Yobu's item is pretty good at making sure you don't get caught. So Worm Jones with the sweet footwork as well is just gonna walk away from that play. But yeah, we even see for Setyuki, not even a single completed item yet, just sitting on those components with the tier, with the completed boots, sitting on a lot of money. So maybe just didn't find the perfect recall timing, couldn't teleport into that play, wasn't able to make something happen. And I wonder if maybe as hang on takes, he's just gonna force the flash out of Nano. Maybe a bit too passive there. Maybe worried that Worm Jones might have been nearby. But yeah, right now just finishing that first item is gonna be very delayed in terms of power spikes, as the Horizon focus is not exactly what I expected for the first item here for Hwei, I gotta say.
Yeah, certainly an interesting choice coming out from Setyuki in terms of itemization. It feels like you're missing out on more damage, and you being really the only source of magic damage on your team. You really want to try and pump out those numbers as quickly as possible. So we'll have to see how it works out in execution, but I'm not a huge fan of the Horizon focus first item.
Yeah, I think something like a Caster's Companion or not Caster's Companion, sorry, Luden's Companion. They did rename that item, or maybe even a gosh, what do you call the name of that item? It's totally blank me. You could go Seraph's first. You could even go something like, if you really want to get crazy with it, the Crypt Bloom first for some extra team fight value. But
Malignance as well is also an option, I feel, for Hwei.
yeah, that thing ulti does do a lot of value in terms of the Malignance pools, but just, I don't know, it feels like an odd choice. On the bottom side, Rito Row using that Hex Belt beautifully. A nice spear from Setyuki is going to get a bit of extra damage down. The Spiral of Despair will pop, but Rito Row absolutely fine. A nice 1v1 play from the Sumiko yet again.
Yeah, I mean, Setyuki, just nothing he could do there. Even if he did manage to trade the kill on to Retail Row, would have been Worm Jones with everything up there to finish off the Hwei. So really no way to get out of that sticky situation. But does have the TP available, so when he respawns, if there is a fight to be had, he will be able to enter that in. But like you said, Brady did use the Spiraling Despair, so a big team fight ultimate not being available for Glacial Wolves for a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like the game has slowed down, but in this time that it's slowed down as opposed to every other time that it has, XG has a pretty comfortable gold lead, sitting about 3,000 ahead, sitting on Soul Point, just waiting for that next dragon to spawn in just about 2 minutes time, as Wolf and Wolf's Game Dev have overstayed their welcome. Worm Jones looking for the big damage, but Caxi is there to support. I think the heal from Pixel Wolf is probably the only reason that he's left alive. That collector finish for Worm Jones definitely would have executed him if that heal did not come through.
I know May probably doesn't want me to point it out, but they did take about 2 to 3 tower shots trying to get that tier 1, which definitely would do it for you when it comes to getting a player out of the fight, especially an ADC like Ezreal, who's squishy. So yeah, they were just basically forced to completely go away from that fight, knowing that Ezreal had to run away. Oh no!
Oh, sitting on a ward. There's the Glacial Prison. Is gonna finally land on it. Takes the knockup from Rakan. He's got that Haymaker stacked, but all of the crowd control is just not gonna allow him to do anything in the play. Shutdown gold goes over to Nano.
Yup, and now Take's gone for another 30 seconds here. This could be Glacial Wolves' time to try and lay down wards for this dragon coming up in about 45 seconds here. They do have the Hex Gates available, so that extra mobility is there for them.
Yeah, they're just looking for their opportunity to try and stop this soul. They want to make sure that they don't give away Hextech Soul to Ezreal, to Graves, to Nico. It's a lot of champions who can use and kind of abuse the soul really, really well. But I will say May has now completed that second item, the Essence Reaver with the Mura Mana now in inventory. So this Ezreal's going to have a lot more value when it comes to fights, as Pepega maybe caught out. A nice sidestep away from the Arctic Assault. Now maybe it's Worm Game Down.
Worm Game Down.
That's caught out. Takes it, teleports in, but does immediately get rooted up. So nothing doing there. And a lot of cooldowns burnt, but no kills given over. Not a ton of damage either.
Yeah, but I mean, Wolf Game Dev, the primary engage, or one of the primary engages for Glacial Wolves, is now at half HP, so getting those angles just became a whole lot harder for Glacial Wolves, but they need to try and look for something here. This is Soul for XG. They need to try and go for a fight. They cannot let this one slide, but they're just zoned away.
Ooh, May takes a ton of damage there, but there's just no contest on the Dragon. They're going to fight now with the Hextech Soul activated. Rita Rogue gets onto the back line. A huge Pop Blossom with the May in the follow, and everyone from Glacial Wolves is exploded. Nano's on the backline trying to do damage to Worm Jones, but he's got his flash and his dash away. And it is so far nobody dead from XG Flying as they're looking to try and clean up these last two members of Glacial Wolves. Retail Rose here looking for the stun lineup, trying to get that root down, but Caxi with a nice little bit of padding to make sure that the root can't come through. Will flash away. Vega's on the flank somehow. Worm Jones finishes that one off with the red buff of the Collector. Vega tanking the tower beautifully for the team. They'll take the clean ace, and they're going to push down some more tower value.
Yeah, not even a close team fight. Magnet Storm plus Pop Blossom on XG Flying just completely decimates the backline of Glacial Wolves. And they are going to be able to take turrets along with that. And potentially on these resets, look for a Baron. But Tiggs is in trouble.
Gonna use that Haymaker, gets a nice stun down. Pistol now may be in trouble actually, as Tiggs is just gonna bop him down, feeling comfortable. Health bar has barely even moved. That Sundered Sky putting in a lot of work for him, and if it wasn't the set, it was gonna be the Ezreal. It feels like Glacial Wolves just looking for any potential pick that they can find. It feels like a bit of desperation at this point in the game.
Yeah, but I mean, the damage from XG is just so insane at this point. They have 2 to 3 completed items on every single member, plus they have all of the dragons and the soul. Just the damage profile coming out from this XG Flying Wolves squad, or XG Flying. I was mixing up the teams there. XG Flying squad is just too much, I feel, for Glacial Wolves to handle at this point. And they just have to start looking for picks. They have to start looking to try and pick people off like they did Tiggs into that top lane. But I don't know if XG is going to let that happen again.
Yeah, unlike last game where it was very back and forth until XG had a decent lead, but then a beautiful steal from Caxi brought them the lead back. This goal lead is comfortably in favor of XG. They are 8K ahead, looking to force to flash away, lock in everything to make sure that he just survives trying to get a ward down. I think even with a Baron seal, it doesn't even up the gold lead, and I don't think it allows Glacial Wolves to actually even play the game.
Yeah, sure. And they're going to continue looking for more. XG just constantly trying to be aggressive. This is the aggression that we were expecting out of Worm Jones and Retail Row. And now with all the damage, all of the advantages going over to their squad that they earned 26 minutes into this game, it is finally coming through and is paying off as Glacial Wolves are getting ever so desperate to try and turn this game around.
Yeah, XG really wants to take this to game 3. They want to put their stamp in this series. And I gotta say, it's a difficult thing to try and look for an opportunity back into this game. For Glacial Wolves, you're down so much gold, you don't have any map pressure, you barely have vision in your own jungle. Caxi's gonna get a ward in the pit again.
No, it's gonna happen again.
Not 2 games in a row. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. Caxi doesn't have these. He never has these. Tiggs is looking over the wall. He's not gonna let him play. There's that spiraling despair. They're just gonna peel off the Baron. They're gonna leave it at 3K. They're not gonna let it go. Not again. Surely Caxi's in the pit. There's the bullet time, but the fight is good for Worm Jones. He gets it away from Caxi. That time it takes. Looking to get some damage out on the set. You get on the backside. The showstopper is huge. And Retail Row again with the Pop Blossom on in 2. And the fight is over as soon as it starts. A beautiful True Shot barrage from May will pick up a double kill. But that's just gotta be the game.
Yeah, for sure. Baron secured. Soul secured. Finally, Worm Jones gets his redemption. And it will be 3 members of XG barreling down in the mid lane, can get an inhibitor. I don't know if they can get the game, but advantage after advantage is just constantly popping up for this XG Flying squad. I keep finding the names of the teams. Brittany, make me stop, please.
You were the one who said that all the teams like to have the Wolves in their name. So I think you're just doing a little bit of confirmation bias for yourself, but it is XG Flying now with over 10,000 gold in the lead. Glacial Wolves, are gonna need a miracle if they're gonna want to come back in this one. There's a lot of shutdown gold to pick up. They have a base still standing. They only lose the one inhibitor, so it's not as though the game is over yet. And if there are some micro mistakes from XG Flying, if there are some macro mistakes, if they don't rotate properly, this Baron buff can possibly not come to full value.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a miracle could come in the form of this Elder Dragon spawning in about 5 seconds here, or at least that's what it says on the spectator thing. The hourglass is not popping up for some reason.
But the Elder's there.
Yeah, the Elder does exist.
May with a nice true shot barrage. It's gonna take Pixel Wolf down to half HP, and there is just no engage opportunity. With your ADC down to half health, you can't find a fight. And it looks like XG Flying do not even want to try and trifle with the potential Elder flip. They're just gonna look to pressure down the game as Nano's gonna force to pop the World Ender to get away from this super fast Rel. The Trailblazer plus the Rel mounted passive putting in work, and now with the control of the bottom side jungle, with all the vision, they're gonna turn to Elder, and they're just going to take it for free.
Yeah, I mean, Caxi just not entering the bot side river at all. No opportunity for a steal. And now with a Soul, a Baron, and an Elder, I don't think that there is anything that this Glacial Wolf squad can do. The damage is just too high. The gold lead is just too long. And overall, I think XG are going to take us to game 3.
Bullet time to clear the wave, to stall out themselves some extra time, to try and give themselves any opportunity. Stall out this Elder Dragon, stall out the Baron buff, give themselves whatever possibility they need to make the play to give themselves back in the game. But Elder Dragon plus Hex Tech Soul is so frustrating to play against. You can see the white execute lines popping up on health bars just with the ricochets, and now the Baron down minions popping down into the base. One at tower will go down, maybe not just yet. It's looking down, looking for an engage. The Spiraling Despair is going to miss out from set. Yuki Worm Jones gonna find that first kill. Gets a roll. He finds one on the knockup, but one is all he needs. Nano will fall. It's 2 members down for Glacial Wolves. Just the jungle, mid, and ADC trying to defend this last 2 towers. The health bars are fairly low for XG Flying, but I don't think there's an opportunity for them to even try and play the game. The showstopper, the haymaker, huge damage. May comes through to clean up that last kill. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to game 3.
Yup, game 3 for the opening week of the AEL. I wouldn't have it any other way, Pretty. Yeah, as XG Flying looking much better here in game 2, playing more to that more tempered aggression. It felt like in game 1 they were going aggressive, but didn't necessarily have a gold lead to back that aggression up. I liked it a lot better in this game. They played more for team fights. They played better around the map, and they got a win as a result. And Glacial Wolves, it just felt like at some point they were completely locked out of the game, and there was nothing they could do with the just barrage of damage and constant objective takes that XG Flying were always on top of.
Yeah, I much prefer the Nico here in this game too for Retail Row as opposed to the Karma. A lot more playmaking potential, a lot more activity in the early and mid game, making those roams down the bottom lane, having a lot more impact in the fights. Those pop blossoms were massive. I'm going to be honest, XG, if I ever see Retail Row on an Enchanter mid lane again, I might have to call you and have a stern conversation about that one. He looked great on the engages.
Yeah, I mean, he is an engaged champ. It feels like he is more of an engaged player. We saw a lot in Dynasty Ruby. When Dynasty Ruby were able to go all in, when they were going to be 5 members just diving into the enemy team, that was when they were at their best. And you could see it in this game. Retail Row constantly getting 2, 3, even 4-man pop blossoms. And the team was getting rewarded with every single fight going their way. And if they can do more of that, then game 3 should be no different than what we saw here in game 2.
Yeah, and speaking of game 3, we are going to take a short break before we hop into that game 3 to give the casters a second to rest and let that game 3 finish up. Thank you all so much for being here. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Standing right in front of you. Say something, won't you say something? just before we land. You want me to swim, but you won't be my ocean. We're spinning in circles, a circular motion. One day I'll sail away. I know you won't look for me. peace, restore our glory.
We are back here for game 3 of XG Flying versus Glacial Wolves. It's been a hell of a series so far, and we're here to see it to its conclusion. I'm still what too pretty, that still quacks. And if you are unaware, for our third game here, the game has already finished. We are working off of the .ruffle files, a lot of backline production stuff because the Riot Spectator client has been having issues, but it does mean players have already finished the game. We're going to see the draft point by point to make sure we can talk about it, and then we're going to transition straight into the game.
Yeah, so I know the players from the games are probably watching this stream right now, so no spoilers in the chat, please. As we do move on to the bans. I would expect more or less the same, just focusing down those junglers, and it looks like that is the plan from the get-go. XG banning away the Viego, Glacial Wolves banning away the Nocturne, the two staple bans that we have seen in the first phase of them so far. And speaking of familiar bans, we also get the Morgana, followed by Glacial Wolves' first pivot from game 2, where they will be banning away the Nico, really putting respect on Retail Row's ability to get some of those insanely clutch Pop Blossoms in game 2.
Yeah, and interestingly, it's going to be XG actually picking up the brand ban, not wanting that one to slip through. Probably just not happy first picking it themselves, but don't want to let Glacial Wolves have it, so they're going to ban that one away. But it does free up Glacial Wolves to ban away that Lilia one more time, and it means XG, as we saw in game 2, will first pick up that Graves again.
Yeah, I mean, they're just putting a lot of priority and emphasis on Worm Jones being one of the carries of this XG Flying squad. And, you know, been a carry he definitely has been for the games that they have won in game 2, in particular the Graves of putting on so much pressure of the Sejuani, even so much as to make Caxi search the entire jungle to try and find the Graves. That was a bit of a funny moment from game 2. But speaking of Glacial Wolves and speaking of Caxi, they are going to pick up the Xin Zhao for him, pivoting away from his Sejuani that he played in games 1 and 2, followed up by an Ashe. So a lot of upfront power and damage coming in here for Glacial Wolves.
Yeah, the Ashe does have flexibility between bottom lane and supports. We'll have to see where they opt to throw that one. But the Xin Zhao, I think, is an interesting pivot because we haven't seen a lot of melee champions coming out for Glacial Wolves in this draft. It really just has been that melee top laner and pseudo melee support, not really someone that you have comfortable like activating that Sejuani E, getting that extra stun timer down. But I can see why they would make the pivot to Xin Zhao if they're going to keep this sort of drafting style, if they want to have a double range bottom lane, if they are going to truly flex that Ashe. You want a jungler who's going to be a little bit more self-sustaining.
Yeah, for sure. Now I wonder if Glacial Wolves are going to pick up their bot laner, revealing where this Ashe is going to go, or a solo laner, and it looks like the answer is going to be in the form of a Soraka, so that will be an Ashe ADC. As we move on to the second phase of bans, Glacial Wolves most likely just going to take away those top laners from Tiggs like they have all series, the Malphite, the Darius. And yeah, it just looks like that is exactly what they're going for. An XG probably going to hit up a Nautilus ban, followed by a, what was the ban that they got for the top lane? A top lane ban, I believe it was the Fiora as well.
Was Nautilus and Fiora last game, but they're actually going to ban away Vladimir this time around. I will say I really like the Soraka into the first 3 picks that we've seen from XG. Ezreal and Braum can provide a decent amount of poke in the early game, especially if Braum does do Q-Max as opposed to E-Max. It will mean that Soraka can help the Ashe just sustain through, and if there is a lot of dive coming onto the Ashe, Soraka is great at peeling it away and making sure that the carries can stay safe. And we all know how much Xin Zhao as a jungler likes to have an enchanter, so having a Soraka cross map but just give him an extra bit of juice on that health bar has got to feel good.
Yeah, and I brain farted about that Nautilus ban because apparently I'm blind, didn't see the Braum being picked up, so my apologies to anyone screaming at me that we already picked support, Quacks. But yeah, as we move into the second round of picks, both solo laners available for both teams, and Glacial Wolves going to throw in the Lissandra. This has been kind of a sleeper OP pick, especially with Malignant in tow, that ultimate dealing that extra little bit of damage and being a really good zoning tool that I think Xin Zhao in particular can really benefit from, because you already have that sort of disperseness with your ultimate, so it just makes splitting up the team a lot easier for Glacial Wolves.
Yeah, I gotta say, I wonder if there's something contractually with Glacial Wolves where they have to pick at least one Freljord champion every draft, because so far, for 3 games for 3, they've had a Freljordian champion in there no matter what. This time they have 2, but XG are going to counterpick the mid lane with the Cassiopeia, and we're going to have to see what Tiggs wants for that solo top lane. It made it through the ban phase this time around. They're going to grab the Jax for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably a Tiggs special. This is probably something he loves to play. Lane bully, able to scale, able to do basically just about anything you want. Jax is a super flexible and versatile champion. But Glacial Wolves are going to go in an interesting direction and pick up the Akali top lane. So, like the last two games, Brittany, a lot of emphasis being put on this top lane matchup and the grubs that come with that side of the map.
Yeah, the Akali's an interesting choice. It's not the usual counterpick that you see for a Jax. I mean, Rumble is obviously a good matchup into the Jax, but it was banned away by XG. Gragas is usually also a champion that you see as a go-to counterpick towards that top side, but this time they opt for the Akali, something much more aggressive for Nano up there on the top side, similar to Game 1 where we saw the Aurelia pick come out. We're going to have to see how much success this Akali has coming into Game 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we move into Game 3, which is being prepped and loaded for us by our behind-the-scenes producer, PVS, thank you so much, I do have to give a little bit of a shout-out to Aegis Esports and the sponsor of today's stream, and that is Coachify.gg. So Coachify.gg, like last play, you know the drill. It provides tools for esports coaches to manage their teams and players while also finding new students. So if you want to click the panel located below the stream to check out their website for more information, you can go on and do that. A lot of coaches have been popping up for a lot of these top teams recently and really are, I feel, a key to success when it comes to a successful team. You always got to put respect on the coaches, so go check that out if you are at all interested. And with that, it's just a matter of time before we move into this all-important match point Game 3 for XG Flying versus the Glacial Wolves.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the level 1 is going to be coming into this game. We've seen the advancement and the evolution of these level 1s so far with some nice counterplay from Glacial Wolves there on that level 1, and we're already seeing a 5-stack running through this mid lane. I'm very scared that there is going to be some shenanigans happening on the top side of this map.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, XG are just trying to look for anything that they can early on, an early ward to try and get Caxie's pathing. It feels like that's been something they've been really good at this series. They've been tracking Caxie a lot in this early game, really knowing where he is at all times. And yeah, this game is going to be no different. They drop a ward onto that red buff, giving information over to XG right out of the gate.
Yeah, that information, as per usual, as we've seen in these level 1s, very important for XG, and it's allowing Worm Jones to path a little bit more comfortably, to play a little bit more safely the way that he would want to play, or in some cases, a bit more aggressively trying to make some more action happen. But it is just going to be a standard start, it looks like, for Caxie, going for that wolf path again. So I wonder if we're going to see the all-powerful grub pathway once again.
Yeah, for sure, as nothing too crazy going to hit the rift right out of the gate. Both junglers starting on opposite sides. Caxie, once again, starting on those wolves. So we talked about the grub path in Game 1, and it ended up just being a 3-camp trying to get to that top lane as quickly as possible. So we'll have to see if that is the game plan here, as it certainly looks to be that way, as Tiggs manages to take a decent chunk out of Nano, get the wave pushing early on, but you cannot underestimate the damage of Akali and that fleet footwork in tow.
Yeah, the fleet footwork sustain is going to be very helpful, but energy already very low for Nano. We're getting some aggression up here on the top side. Tiggs really wants to take advantage of the Jax passive plus the lethal tempo on those early levels, really make some fights happen, but for now, it looks like with Wormjo's pathing away, I think Tiggs has to be a little bit more careful when he starts taking trades like this. And actually forward as Nano's going to get that shuriken flip, get the extra auto and dodges out on the stun. He does have the D shield plus the fleet footwork, so he'll be able to sustain up any early aggression and damage that comes through from the Jax. But if Tiggs goes for another engage like that and Caxie is nearby, that could very easily spell first blood.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tig's really wanting to go aggressive here, but Caxi is on those Krugs. You can see he is making his way up, but there is a ward, but he's going in.
Nano, very low. Doesn't have that level 3 just yet, so no Shroud available. Takes flashes forward, locks down the stun for first blood. Caxi will flash in to get the response kill, but it's a beautiful play from Tiggs to secure that kill.
Yeah, I mean, good recognition there from Tiggs. He knows that he's dead either way. He knows that he chose to be aggressive onto Nano at the wrong time. And so he does the smart thing. He goes for a 1-for-1 trade. And yeah, equalizes the lane state up. So overall, top lane still in a rather neutral state here in Game 3.
Yeah, this wave is pushing into Nano, so if Caxi wants to be a little bit of a solo queue jungler and just camp the hell out of the top lane, it's definitely still a viable route. He does still have that red buff up, so he could clear that camp and come back in. I don't think Tiggs has a ward up just yet. That ward should have run out in the Pixel Brush. So I wonder if Caxi is just going to go for that, as his bottom side is already gone, and he could probably expect that Worm Jones, seeing him path top side, would just full clear his bottom side camps.
Yeah, absolutely. Worm Jones, really good, I feel, as a player in terms of never ever giving anyone anything for free. He is really good at overall tracking and enabling himself to at least take something back from any and all trades around the map. So he is going to be doing that in this game, as he has already built up a pretty sizable gold lead and still has gold and camp lead rather, and still has camps to spare. So this Graves setting up to be a very big threat early on, as the moment he recalls, he picks up the Dirk and has a lot more dueling power on this Graves pick.
Yeah, I do think that it might be evened out by this aggression in the top lane. We're already seeing a 10 CS lead in favor of Nano. Gonna look to pick up that Storm Surge early, it looks like, with the early Aether Wisp. Try and just get some more aggression down onto this Jax, but the camp from Caxi, we'll have to see how much influence it can have the later this game goes. As, like we said, Tiggs trading back for that first blood kill and getting that teleport back in, not allowing that wave to be shoved in, not missing too much CS, was actually a pretty good trade for him overall.
Yeah, for sure. Tiggs is definitely still trying to make his way into this top lane, and this is a more favorable matchup for a, I would honestly say, that Counter-Strike, you know, Jax entering evasion, get the copy pastas in, does not have as much value as a spellcaster against a spellcaster like Akali, so it is a tougher matchup for Tiggs. And it's especially rough because this is the kind of playstyle that he's wanted to play all series, right? This is what we've been seeing from him all series, loving to just scrap and brawl over and over with the enemy top laner, even if it's not in his best interest. That's really what his playstyle has been dictating around this series. And this game is no different, but Nano on Akali is just so good at disengaging and so good at fighting back with a kit that essentially counters Jack.
Yeah, we are seeing the trade of objectives go over Grubs for the early dragon once again. And again, it is that early cloud dragon, so not too much value. It's a trade that Caxi is happy to make. The extra value those 3 Grubs give, that no matter what, you're going to be able to either deny the 6 from your enemy team or give 6 to yourself. It's just an objective you're happy to have.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just having the Grubs early on, especially if you have a comp that's pushing, it is nice to just get some of that extra little play, extra little threat on the towers. However, I say a pushing comp, and I don't really feel like that is Glacial Wolves' comp, as Caxi going to invade the jungle with the priority in the mid, but not a lot of objectives or camps to be taken, as Worm has already cleared them.
Yeah, again, smart pathing from Worm Jones, making sure that he's got his camps on cooldown as May. Gonna dash forward again, no mana on this Ezreal, so this might actually not work out entirely in their favor. Soraka though gonna take a ton of damage from that Winter's Bite proc. The Bromstone doing plenty of damage, gonna burn the heal for free. And a nice trade by the XG flying bottom lane.
Yeah, no heal coming off on the Soraka, so I feel like Wolf Game Dev kind of underestimated the amount of damage that he would take from his own W there. Caxi on a ward.
Yeah, again, on a ward, just trying to influence his top lane as much as possible, but Tiggs, after the level 1, really is not allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
He just happened to walk away as soon as he sees Caxi, and then walks back into trade with Nano as soon as Caxi is gone. This is really smart top lane play.
Yeah, for sure. Tiggs definitely showing restraint here in the top lane, which is something that we haven't seen a lot from him in this series, as it's mostly just been fight, fight, fight. But that's what Nano's thinking.
Might. Nano still holding on to that perfect execution now. Set Yuki is up here to make sure Tiggs can have a good time. This is the top lane solo team experience. Tiggs gonna look for a lead strike out with that ward, but nothing doing. Set Yuki gonna burn the Glacial Tomb and just knock him down.
Yeah, Yuki managing to get the kill will definitely hurt. Will definitely help the pain of potentially losing a plate here in the mid lane as Retail Row. No one has been covering that mid lane, so this Cassiopeia does have free push. But yeah, overall, another kill going over to the Glacial Wolves squad. And Tiggs, for the second time this game, being the victim of that kill.
Wolf Game Dead has no heal. Does have a little 6 on this rocket, but the stun might just be enough. Flash and ult burn away. There's that Q for some extra healing. Wolfgang Dev actually managing to walk out of this one, and now maybe Pixel Wolf in trouble. The Knight is down. There's the shot from Graves. The Knight taking, but it will be Pixel Wolf surviving. So Yuki is here. Doesn't get access to the Frozen Tube just yet. Cassie gonna dash in the Crescent Guard for huge amounts of damage across the team. Retail Row is here. May force a flash over the wall. They're just looking to keep this trade going. They know that the bottom lane is low, but Pixel Wolf actually been healed up a lot by Wolf Game Dev as there's the stun. Somehow catches Cassie on the back. May's gonna find that kill. A nice initial figure to knock them away, and Retail Row with the twin fangs on the back half of that will pick up Set Yuki, and it's great play for XG Flying on the bottom side once again.
Yeah, great playing by XG Flying, but Glacial Wolves just going a little bit too aggressive there. They managed to get the kill, and they could have just walked away with a 1-for-0, but they tried to go for more. Caxi just face-checking into 3, and then Set Yuki was the next victim. The overall XG being the ones that come out on top in that trade. With about a 1,000 gold lead, they are looking to make their mark here on Game 3, and they are trying to assert dominance early on.
Yeah, this is what we expected to see out of them coming into this series. We were talking about it before Game 1, that this is the former Dynasty Ruby meta jungle duo. They like to play with their hands. They like to be aggressive. They like to make things happen. And we're seeing this action in the early game. And while Glacial Wolves is trying to fight back, and I would say doing so fairly well, especially in the top side, making sure that Tiggs just cannot play the game as he is down now 25 CS away from this Akali. It's just not a fun matchup to be in. But with the rest of the map going in favor of XG, Tiggs, I think, just has to kind of take it on the chin and be like, fine, you can have the bully, you can let me absorb pressure, but I'm going to come out on top in the end.
Yeah, but it looks like XG, they understand the pain that Tiggs has been going through, and they are going to try and assist him. Nano does have ult and flash, so there's a lot of escape potential here for the Akali.
Oh, he's going to shuriken flip back in. I don't think that's the one you want to take, my friend. Worm Jones lock down that kill, and I wonder, with flash and with ulti, if Nano might be able to just walk out from that one.
Yeah, I mean, really the only threat from XG there was Worm Jones. Pepega was all the way in the back trying to assist Tiggs, who was also behind the turret. So really all you had to worry about was a Graves. I feel like there was definitely a way that Nano gets out of that. Doesn't even probably need to burn the flash. I'm pretty sure he still had the Shroud available. But yeah, that is just going to be a kill going over to XG, and they're going to follow that up with Grubs.
Yep, 3 for 3 for both teams. No Void Mites once again, but the Grubs going down means that Dragon will be traded as Caxi. When becomes Lightning lands on a Retail Row, but with Pepega there, not going to look to go in.
Yeah, for sure. Just holding his, you know, sort of ooga booga brain to go in there. Just realizing that this Cassiopeia is now on one item, has the Rod of Ages acquired, so that is a pretty big power spike for this champion. You definitely don't want to mess with that without some significant backup. So yeah, and that is a big thing for XG Flying, though, now that Retail Row has been unlocked. The aggression of this player has been unlocked with items. They can look for more and more plays around the map, look to go deeper and deeper into Glacial Wolves' jungle, and just look to continue their domination here in Game 3.
Yeah, I do know there is a lot of value for teleport in mid lane, and maybe even for Cassio Ghost, but I wonder, with the combination of Ashe and Lissandra, if maybe this is a cleanse game for the Cassio, as I say that Retail Row getting aggressive again in the mid lane, but now has to use that flash to get away. Caxi with another, or not with Caxi, sorry, that one was on Nano. Getting the nice roam down from top lane and making something happen there. Now flashless, Cassio might actually be a gank target.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the wave is in a rather neutral spot, so Yuki probably just going to try and push this one in as soon as possible. Is a little bit behind in gold and items. As you can see, Retail Row has been doing a really good job of farming on that Cassiopeia. So just trying to equalize that gold lead as much as humanly possible, trying to get that fabled Lysandra ultimate as Arrow from Pixel Wolf goes a little bit wide, just waves us high in the broadcast. Hello, Ash Arrow.
I think it's coming by my room soon. Just give it a second, it'll get there. But I like the attempt. I think
Oh god, I hit my fridge.
if you're not gonna look for the 2v2 in the bottom lane, you know Ezreal has the cleanse and you don't want to throw that arrow into the Braum. Looking for the crossmap arrows and trying to make something happen in another lane is really what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. As just the pressure in this bot lane. I mean, the grubs are really coming in handy for a champion like Ezreal, who is so good at just spamming autos and abilities, making it really hard to dodge from this immobile bot lane and just making them constantly play behind the tower. The damage coming out from this Ezreal is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, maybe letting this Ezreal through the draft was not the call, as Caxi gonna potentially be in trouble. Crescent guard and the dash to get away from Worm Jones. Teleport from said Yuki. It's a 3 versus 3, but Worm Jones has that HP advantage. Sandra is gonna hop over that wall, but I'm not sure she's much of a target right now. Just collects back with her team as the spectator camera really wants us to watch this bottom lane fight. As God, Pixel Wolf is just taking the punishment on this bottom side, so Yuki's gonna be forced to walk away from the trade as Tags getting engaged on by Caxi, but the blind is there from Worm Jones, keeping his top laner safe. There's the dash in. Nano should be able to find a perfect execution. No, the flash over the wall from Tags is going to keep him safe. In the meantime, say Yuki picked up by Retail Row. Caxi now the next to fall, and it's a disaster for Glacial Wolves on the top side.
Yeah, Glacial Wolves, it just felt like they were splitting up, trying to get Tiggs, and they weren't able to get him. A beautiful flash coming out from that Jax to really misdirect Nano, as Retail Row going to pick up another kill here on this Cassiopeia, as our director camera really doesn't like us today, Pretty.
I went to move off my head to the side to go and like pick up my drink, and then I just hear enemy killing me. I'm like, wait, what? I missed a fight? What happened?
Yeah.
I was so confused.
For sure, as Turret also fell here in the bot lane, so Mei and Pega just laying down so much fire, bullying out Pixel Wolf and Wolf Game Dev, the Wolf duo, if you will. I'm gonna just start calling them that, the Wolf duo. I am not pronouncing it, I don't have to. They have a theme.
They have a theme, we've got to take advantage of it. But yeah, the Ezreal has been putting in so much work into this early game, and this is really what you expect out of the champion now. With the buffs, he has the cleanse, and with Soraka as your support, you don't have any secondary form of engage, so Ezreal is just as safe as can be, and at this point in the game, I think we're probably never going to see Pepega in this lane again. We're just going to let Mei farm this one out 1 versus 2 and have the Braum move on the map, try and make plays happen, work with Worm Jones, and just try and make sure the rest of the map does not fall the way of Glacial Wolves.
Yeah, and I mean, giving Pepega the option to roam now that the turret has been removed just opens up so many more doors for Worm Jones to be aggressive, to be the player that we all know him to be, to try and just grab Caxi and get him out of his own jungle, say, this is my property now. So I'm really expecting that with these bot lane turrets falling in and with these tier 1s slowly falling across the map, it will open up avenues for this Graves to continue pursuing and pressing his lead now that he is going on his 2nd item now.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult to move either the jungle or the bottom lane, honestly, for this XG flying. As Pepega having to just walk up into the bottom lane of Glacial Wolves, and he's going to buy himself some space to make sure that Worm Jones can just start up this dragon for free. There's not a lot of threat.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that Worm Jones is just starting it up. You can see Caxi on the backline, maybe trying to look for a steal.
Lightning, Caxi doesn't get Smite down. Worm Jones did have that upgrade in Smite, so there just wasn't a chance. Nice collection by XG Flying. A good attempt by Caxi, but just not enough.
Yeah, and this is where the CS difference in the jungle is really coming into handy. Those pets are completed for Worm Jones, whereas Caxi still has 4 more stacks left to complete until he gets that 1200 Smite. So, Smite difference not being considered there by Caxi, and they get a kill along with the dragon.
Yeah, now potentially looking for some sort of counterplay top side, but Retail Row senses out the play. They're going to be able to pick up takes, but now Retail happy to just lay down some damage. They actually managed to both get out. I'm a little shocked there. I thought for sure that would have been a death, but speaking of death, Game Devs, true shot barrage from May will pick that one up. A nice counter play from XG Flying in the mid lane. Now with that Herald popped, we're finally going to see the charge. Worm Jones is going to pick up that shield. Now May potentially in trouble when becomes lightning. Doesn't actually go through. Worm Jones just kills him. Sayuki and Nano rotating in, but it might just be too little too late. Sayuki forces blast away. May with the red buff will pick up the kill. Dashing forward to find another, but Worm Jones will pick that one up. It's shutdown goal going over to Nano, but he will fall. Worm Jones survives that last tower shot, and it's a delayed ace only because Wolf Game Dev survived. It's a big win for XG Flying.
Yeah, it felt like Glacial Wolves, they were trying to look for a flank off of Sayuki and Nano being there, having access to that topside river, but the timing just wasn't right. Caxi going into early, Pixel Wolf losing too much health, and when Nano and Sayuki finally do get there, they're completely alone. They cannot be backed up by the jungler or the ADC, and they managed to get a couple of kills in return, but it is XG Flying all the way.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, when we came into this series, this is sort of the game we were expecting, but in game 2, not in game 3, in game 1, there was a lot of potential for Glacial Wolves, and they showed a lot of great stuff, just making sure they were playing safe, scaling, absorbing the pressure from XG Flying. But now that they're trying to match XG in terms of aggression, they're trying to play up in their face, it feels like they've put XG in a comfort zone. As Takes is going to get engaged on the top side, the arrow manages to miss one extra time there. Takes getting engaged on Nano, wants that perfect execution, but can't find the damage. Now Caxi has flash, but I don't think he's going to burn it. Jungle left on his lonesome jungle in 2024. Worm Jones will go unstoppable. As May now is rotating here with his support, as Wolf Game Dev is caught out. The stun comes through. It's huge damage from May as Worm Jones tries to steal the kill, but it's not allowed. It's a double kill for May on the Ezreal. 6-1 and 3. On that pick, feeling good, not even having the Mermana stacked, just aggression.
Yeah, this Ezreal aggression, like you just said, Brittany, has really been coming up clutch for May and being such a staple in the bot lane, not just in this game, but in this series in general. It feels like May and Pepega have always been the aggressors of the lane, looking for picks, looking for plays, looking for poke, and that has paid off here in game 3.
Pega puts up the Unbreakable, is going to manage to survive. Retail Row. That's the Glacial Tomb burned on Sayuki himself, not on anybody aggressively, and that is Worm Jones going dominating 6 kills for him now. And I like what Glacial Wolves were looking for there. I appreciate that they were trying to make a play happen. They lost their inhibitor. They didn't want to give it away for nothing, but they just end up losing Sayuki instead of making another fight happen.
Yeah, for sure. Glacial Wolves just looking for any opportunity, but just being beaten to the punch every time by XG, who have not only superior damage, but it just feels like superior cohesion. Their timing is much better in some of these fights and these skirmishes, and it is showing in colors here in game 3.
Nano has overstepped as well. From the arrow will land onto Retail Row, but it's just onto the... Oh, but Akali. I forgot Akali. Very, very mobile champion will be able to walk away from that play just fine. And I want you to call your mind back about 10-15 minutes ago. We were talking about how big of a CS lead Nano had over Tiggs and how potentially the Akali could be the carrying point of this game. He's now only 8 CS ahead of the Jax, and the Jax is practically even in itemization with the Akali.
Yeah, I mean, Tiggs doing a really good job of just eating the pressure that he faced all the way in the laning phase. Caxi just looking for constant angles to try and punish this Jax, but never quite able to find them. There was that one case in the early game where Tiggs went down, but other than that, it feels like he's done a really good job at not letting Glacial Wolves repeat that same play. And yeah, he has now been able to scale up, catch up to Nano in terms of gold and items, like you said, Brittany. And just as the dragon is spawning, it's looking like XG, 5 members strong, are going to be the ones to take it and take the soul point with it.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not even sure they need it. I wouldn't even hate seeing them look to threaten the Baron here. Try and trade Baron for Dragon instead. Force the members of Glacial Wolves to try and contest it. Try and poke their heads out of their base. Because right now, there really isn't a lot they can do to step outside their own towers. The jungle is not theirs to walk into anymore. You can see the ward lines pushed up aggressively here for XG Flying, and without any consistent engage outside of, say, Yuki finding an ult or Pixel Wolf landing an ult on someone who isn't a tank or has cleanse, there's not a lot they can do, as Mei is gonna dash forward into Yuki here. Hang on, I'm not sure that's the one you want to go into. He's gonna flash away, has the cleanse and the heal, but will fall. Cassie picks up that kill, shutdown gold going over to him, and maybe just a bit of over-aggression there from the Emerald, but hang on, Cassie, the over-aggression is gonna get blown up by the Graves. Worm Jones finds that one. Now, the rest of the members of Glacial Wolves in a bit of trouble as Retail Row is rotated over. Worm Jones manages to escape with Moshio. Cassio, full health, full mana, is just gonna burn him down with the twin bangs. Worm Jones will go legendary, and I think we're coming close to a close here.
Yeah, the minions are in the base. They are knocking at the door of Glacial Wolves. You can see Retail Row and Worm Jones. They do not care about pushing down this mid lane. They do not care about trying to go for a second inhib. And as Tiggs joins them, it is
this is
gaming dev.
Oh, that's just me. No, leave her alone. No. Disaster for the Soraka under tower. No safety allowed there. Caxi has a respawn. The rest of the members will respawn, but I think it's just to watch their Nexus go down. The Ezreal Wolves for show over there. The Nexus down to half HP. It's just got to be the members hitting it with their Void Gloves. They're going to take one more kill for the road, two more for the road. They want more blood. Tiggs will go down. Pixel will fall as the final kill comes through. And it's XG Flying, taking the game and taking the series.
Yeah, they were saying that first game was a fluke, and they showed up in game 2 and 3 and took the series in a very commanding way. Just every single lead, they managed to stretch it out as much as they could, take as much as they could with even the smallest gold lead. And it showed here in game 3. They got dragons, they got grubs, they got heralds, and they made the most of them. And it just felt like Glacial Wolves, just like you said, Brittany, earlier, trying to match the aggression, just couldn't quite do it. And yeah, like you said, XG Flying coming out on top here in our first of many series here in the AEL.
Yeah, I'm really surprised with how the draft strategy for Glacial Wolves evolved over the course of the series. It felt like they had a really good thing going with their scaling in game 1. They had the double enchanters. They had the Aurelia carry in the top side, and it felt like they were trying to do something like that in game 3, but without that second enchanter and without a true carry, the Akali just couldn't match up the same way that Aurelia could. It just wasn't enough. And when you try to fight fire with fire, oftentimes you're going to get burned. And XG, we're bringing a flamethrower.
Oh, yeah, they were bringing the heat, even in game 1 when it didn't quite work out for them, when they went a little bit over aggressive and got punished for it by Glacial Wolves. They just kept the style. They fixed a little bit of their mistakes. They ironed out some of the kinks. They picked more toward the side of team fighting, and I think that they kind of found their groove. And Glacial Wolves weren't quite able to capture that patience that they had in game 1 to return it to the rest of the series. And yeah, it showed in the rest of the series. They weren't able to really come back in games 2 and 3, and XG just ran away with it with their aggression and with their style of play.
Yeah, I think a great showing from both teams. Glacial Wolves, a lot that they can work on, but game 1 really was the style that I think I want to see more out of them. And XG, obviously, we've talked about it so much on this broadcast, that mid-jungle duo coming up from Dynasty Ruby, making plays happen. They look confident in this higher league, and they're making a stamp in that first series and making sure that their names will be known throughout the rest of this tournament. But I think unless you have any last points, that's going to be it for us.
Yeah, that's about it for me. I have been Quacks. This has been What to Britty with me. We are so happy to be here on the AEL, and we cannot wait to see you guys in for next week. So see you guys soon. Peace out.